305 guys on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, turn the notifications on. I'm Ethan Skolnick. I've got Alex Donno with us. Well, with me, as usual, Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can follow him at Alex Donno. He's in full Canes regalia. I'm sure Locked on Canes has been devoted to where they place and how they're probably going to get screwed again, although they kind of screwed themselves. I feel like this is like
new CFP. Yeah, exactly. There is screwing from all directions. You screw yourselves over by losing to SMU, but then the committee also screws you over with the head-to-head win over Notre Dame. So it's coming from all directions.
It's amazing how the head-to-head wins never matter by the end of the season. We are going to talk Heat here today, though, and for Heat and everything else, you can use Prize Picks. Use the code 5. FIVE, put down your $5. You get $50 in free lineups. If you see another code there, just delete it. Enter ours. Ours is better. Plus, it helps keep us on the air. Again, use the code 5 FIVE. This is a place for all of your fantasy sports content across the sports spectrum. We've got NHL going on right now. Another goal from Marchand last night. Big goal. He's been doing that consistently now. So you might want to play him more. More, not that other word. Also, NFL. Dolphins, of course, have the Madrid thing coming up. They come off a win. I'm not sure we should be celebrating that, even though they played extraordinarily well. I love Mike McDaniel, but
whatever you want the Dolphins to do, they will do the opposite.
Correct.
When you want them to win, they lose in the most spectacular fashion. When you're thinking, hey, maybe it's better if they lose, they look like Super Bowl champs in dismantling the Bills.
And then you've got Mike McDaniel going by elbow room and taunting, which again I think is funny and it's cool. Except you're 3-7. I'm not really sure if that's the way to go here. But anyway, go to Prize Picks. You can be 3-7 and you can still win big money. That's how this works. Again, legal in the state of Florida. I've hit on 4 of my last 6 NBA plays. So follow me as well on 5 Reasons Sports Twitter and all that good stuff. You can see kind of what it looks like. Here as well. That's our promo code. That's FIVE. They've changed the format here a little bit since they've actually upgraded it quite a bit. But check it out. It's prizepicks.com. All right. So the Miami Heat are now 7-4 on the season. That was one of the better regular season games I've seen live in a long time. 140-138. In overtime, Donovan Mitchell hits a circus fall away 3. He stepped out of bounds, by the way. And then after that, play call designed by Chris Quinn a few years ago. Spoelstra's used this a couple of times. CQ, that's what they call it, not GQ. It's CQ. Chris Quinn is not very GQ, although we love you, Chris. And a great play design, but even better execution. Wiggins making the read there and the cut, but also Jovic with the no-look pass the other direction. And it was just tremendous execution at the end of that game. They win, but it's not everybody's focusing on that play. But what I'm focusing on is how they got there. There were several moments in that game against a very good Cleveland team. I know that they're missing Strus. Garland got hurt, but a very good Cleveland team, and that they lost to by 92 points, or a version of this team lost to by 92 points in the last 2 times they saw them, which was down here. And you come out, what are we, now we're 7 months later, and this looks like a totally different attitude, aura about this team, vibe about this team. Norm Powell has brought a lot of that. The Jimmy cloud is gone. The young players are developing. Jaquez was terrific again last night. But they also got some of their best minutes they've gotten. Spoelstra said it's the best game he's played in a Heat uniform from Kel'el Ware. He was able to leave him in at the end of the game, which is a big deal, actually. Davion Mitchell made some big plays. And again, Powell and Wiggins have given them as much or more you could have expected. Wiggins in the big moments and Powell throughout. And now you're getting Tyler and Bam coming back. Bam is out of the walking boot today. I don't think he's going to play tomorrow, but he's not that far away at this point. And you've got a home and home coming up with the Knicks this weekend. Alex, I'm close to declaring this thing real. I think when you look at their overall metrics, first they've bought into this offensive, this pace style, but it hasn't hurt their defense. And I know the scores are high. People are going to focus on that. But again, you got to consider pace. Pace adjusted, the Heat are top 10 in defensive rating. And then beyond that, though, they have a feel about them right now that I talked to Davion Mitchell about this in the locker room yesterday. He's like, they forced us to spend time together during training camp. And he's like, it's clicked. And I just think they're playing for each other, and you start to get this vibe about a team. And I like a lot of their pieces so much that I don't know who comes out of the rotation when Hero comes back.
I think what we're seeing from this Heat team so far, it's the perfect combination of the Erik Spoelstra secret sauce, which is elevating players and like bringing out the best of a unit. And I think this is a perfect Spo team. When you talk about the youth, the athleticism, the energy, the pace that they can play with, I believe this was the type of roster that Erik Spoelstra was born to coach. So you have that, but there's more to it than just that Spo secret sauce, because you also have individuals elevating their level of play, right? I mean, I start with Jaime Jaquez. You talk about somebody who has bounced back from what I would call a sophomore slump last year in the most emphatic way possible, right? That's a young, organic player that you drafted and you're developing, who's phenomenal so far in his third year. And then you bring in Norm Powell. Like, I mean, I recall conversations, Ethan, that we had about Powell before the season started. Of course, this is knowing Tyler Hero is going to miss significant time. Like, yeah, you know, he can probably score, but is he really a leading man? Like, can he really, I don't think we expected him to be as prolific as he's been far to start the season. So he's raising his level of play now with this new team. And the other pieces, Ethan, are just fitting like a glove. And you know, Jovic has been fantastic. I always got to ride with my guy, Fontecchio, even if he was minus 15 last night. I always got to ride with my Paisan. But no, this is, and something you brought up, and again, we're not just going to dwell on the CQ play, because it was more than just that, you know, game-winning play in overtime. But I don't take the execution of that for granted, because it's one thing to run it in practice, and apparently they've been running this for multiple years since Chris Quinn first drew it up. You know, they've been practicing this for a while, but yeah, the execution had to be perfect. And that Jovic inbound, I mean, it was spot. I wish Tua had that much consistency when he's throwing passes on Sundays. It's really good this past week, but I mean, that was an unbelievable inbound, and just a play executed to perfection. And yeah, I think a lot of it, you know, we're seeing the start to the season of what this team can do when they're fully on the same page, fully buying in, and we don't have the nonsense that we had last year that came with the Jimmy cloud, where, you know, Jimmy, obviously his time at Miami had passed the expiration date by that point, but we don't have to deal with that now. We have to deal with guys that are all dialed into one another and are playing their best basketball right now.
Well, it's just not gloomy in there anymore. And again, I don't want to focus on Jimmy too much, but I think at times we didn't focus on it enough in terms of what that was doing to the locker room. And you just, when you're in a work environment where everybody's walking on eggshells all the time, which is how it was with him even before it blew up last season, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. Even if you got a few laughs from the guy, which they did, and even if he carried you to places, which he did, sometimes you just don't want to deal with it. And there's been a collective exhale from them, I think, this season, that they don't have to deal with any of that. And I thought it was interesting that Jovic actually said it yesterday, because Jovic was one of the last Jimmy supporters in there last season. And he talked about how, you know, everybody's kind of playing for each other right now. But again, there's a talent thing that goes on here too. And as we mentioned it, we're seeing some of these guys sort of blossom individually. Part of it is the style, but I mean, when you got Jaime averaging 18, 8, and 5 on 58% shooting, and it's every game. Like, yes, he comes in yesterday, they're down 16-8. You know it's going to be tied. That's the thing. Yeah. Like, he's right. He has the best plus minus in the league right now, and it's not like he's out there playing with superstars. He's mostly out there with the bench, and usually one or two guys to anchor. Sometimes it's Powell, sometimes it's Davion. But this is not fluky on his part. Like, what he's doing is sustainable. It doesn't mean that teams aren't going to adjust him again. He isn't going to be forced to maybe make more spot up threes and all that. But Spo's not putting him in the position to do that. He's not sticking him in the corner. And I think that the thing to mention about Spo here, beyond just the human element of what he's dealing with right now off the court, is he did the thing that is hardest for coaches to do. He let go. This style that they're running this year is him letting go. It's not calling all the pick and rolls. All he cares about is the spacing. That's all. He's harping on them about the spacing. From there, go attack. I'm telling you, okay? Now, some of it is the guy has a long-term contract and pedigree, and he's the U.S. Olympic coach, and so he can try whatever the F he pleases, right? And he's not going to get fired. A lot of coaches don't have that luxury, okay? He has it, okay? He didn't have it back when LeBron came, when he almost got fired a couple times. He has it now, right? But it still takes a certain discipline and lack of ego when you get to that level to decide, okay, we're going to allow our players to play freely, because that can look really bad. Like if it does, if you have the wrong guys doing it, that can look really bad. It hasn't looked really bad so far, and it goes to his instincts on these particular players. And I think a lot of that speaks to the way he gets to know his players, understands his players. Like you mentioned, Jovic. Jovic hasn't been great the whole season, but I think he sees the potential in Jovic to be great, and Nico struggles with confidence sometimes. And that's what he has to manage. It's not managing every single play call. It's managing Ware so that you're pushing him a different way. Jovic and Ware need to be managed completely opposite. Jovic needs his confidence propped up. You know he's going to play hard. He's going to try to do too much. Ware is the opposite. Ware has all that ability, believes in his ability, but just drifts in his ability. That's a different approach. And so I think what we're seeing is a good mix. And I think the single biggest thing is Norm. He has changed the vibes in there. He is so easy to deal with. It's not, his play style is easy to deal with. He doesn't take a lot of dribbles. He gets off the ball. He doesn't have to slow the game down to a certain pace or anything like that. And then off the court, watch the way that him and Bam interact. It's very, very different from the way that Bam and Jimmy interacted over the last 3 years. They're more similar in personality. I think that's helpful. And Norm has taken a leadership role in that locker room from the start, which, again, I pat myself on the back for this. I said that was going to happen. I said he was going to end up being, one of the two leaders on this team from the very beginning, because it's who I've heard he is in the other places he's been, and that's been the case. I want to mention one more thing here, and then we'll take some comments here. A terrible week for Barry to be in Madrid. I mean, it's never terrible to be in Madrid. I've been in Madrid.
You notice like every sports writer possible, even though they don't necessarily travel with the Dolphins, they're like, they had to make sure they go to this one. Like, I better cover that game.
I got the credential application for that one, but they weren't going to credential me. But anyway, I should be there right now. We do want to mention one thing while we're here. Subscribe to Off the Floor. We mention this on 5 on the Floor all the time. That's our Discord server. Covering the Heat. You can find 10 different channels, plus the stage shows, host updates. We got Mateo Mayorga at practice right now. He's only posting there, not on Twitter. We're trying to move all of you off of Twitter because we want to get away from everything that's going on there on a daily basis in the world. Come over and talk basketball with us. Then we talk about some other things too, but it's mostly basketball. So check it out. It's Off the Floor. Link is in the description of 5 on the Floor. Also, we posted at the very top of the 5 Reasons Sports Twitter page. So let me ask you this in the larger context, Donno, because the way we do this show, because we try to cover all South Florida sports. Mm-hmm. But let's look at the Dolphins again in this context, okay? How frustrating must it be for them that every time and don't think they don't hope for this, because there are some inside there who do, including the owner for a while. How frustrating must it be for them that the Heat can go through like the brief valley and all of a sudden they're always interesting again within a couple of seasons. And the Dolphins, it's just this eternal rebuild, constant churn, back to zero. It's got to be frustrating for them, no?
I'm sure it is. And I'm sure, people within the organization probably realize the same thing that those of us who are not within the organization realize. Maybe even the owner might be starting to realize this, that he's brought it on himself. Like, he has brought it on himself, because even when they sort of had like a quote unquote full rebuild, wasn't really that, because they still had Chris. Now, Chris Greer, of course, has been fired, we all know, but they still had Chris Greer running the show when they change coaches and they change certain members of personnel. So I don't know what Stephen Ross expects. For as long as he's been the owner of this team, every time things have gone wrong, it's half measures every single time. You know what? They tell me I need to clean house, but I'm either going to keep the GM and then, force the next coach to work with him, or I'm going to keep the coach and force the next GM to work with him. You reap what you sow after a certain point. Now, in the case of the Miami Heat, obviously they haven't had to make sweeping changes because they've had the right people in place for a very long time, right? For basically as long as Pat Riley has been with the organization, and now for the many years Erik Spoelstra has been the head coach. The Heat have not needed to make drastic changes like that. Now, the Florida Panthers have at times, and when the Panthers needed to make those changes, Mr. Viola and Mr. Sifu they got the right people in place. Bill Zito, Paul Maurice, this thing's rolling. And I know, the Cats haven't had the best start to the season, but it's obvious why. Had a ton of injuries. They still grinded out a 2-2 Western road trip, which is pretty good from where I sit. Like that was a decent result on a difficult road trip. And that organization is going to try to win their 3rd straight Stanley Cup and try to get to the finals for a 4th straight time, because eventually they had to blow it up. It wasn't working with Dale Talon and the carousel of head coaches. You needed to put the right people in place. So, yeah, for the Dolphins, it's frustrating, but you reap what you sow. Like they deserve it with the way that the owner has run things since, 2008 when he officially took over. So, we're getting close to 2 decades now. And eventually he has to realize that, you have to find the right people to put in place, but no more half measures. You have to do this the whole way.
Well, I think we're seeing this today too with what's happened in Dallas with the Mavericks, where Nico Harrison just got fired. And it's just sometimes you just wait too long and the guy's just destroyed everything. And I think that happened with the Dolphins. I mean, Greer didn't trade Luka Doncic. Okay, so nothing compares to that. No. But still, it's like usually when guys are making effed up moves, like, and people know it's an effed up move, like it's an effed up move, like that guy probably should not be in charge anymore. And that, again, the guys ultimately, there aren't a lot of times where we turn around and be like, oh no, the guy was right. Like he was a visionary. No, you're not a visionary trading Luka Doncic in the prime of his career when he's a potential 40-point scorer. There's nothing visionary about that because you want to improve the defense. I mean, I don't get it. Like, and there wasn't a lot that Greer was doing that was visionary either, but it went on for way too long. Meanwhile, with the Heat, it was kind of like, okay, we're not going to panic and trade everything for Star. I know they didn't do everything right. The trading the first for Rozier was obviously a huge mistake. But you look at what's happened since the Jimmy trade and what they've come out of it. We did a podcast on this the other day. But they were backed in the corner with the Jimmy situation. We can ask whether they should have seen that coming or not. I know it's a different argument, but they were backed into a corner. They've come out of that with Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, Kasparas Yakachonis. And they got a piece in Kyle Anderson that ended up helping them complete the Norm Powell trade basically for nothing. I mean, if you look at all that and you say, well, you didn't want to pay Duncan in his 30s, so you picked up Fontecchio cheaper. And, and then, look, trading Highsmith, you had to give up a 2nd-round pick, but that cleared the way for Hawkins to play these minutes. So, again, see, the difference between them and the Panthers are like them now too, okay? The difference between the Panthers and them and the Dolphins is everything is looked at holistically. Fans are always focusing on the one move. Why did they do this? But like even with Zito, like you look at the Panthers, like last year they go getting Seth Jones. People were not thrilled with them trading Spencer Knight, but it was like, okay, we need another top line defenseman, and we don't know what Ekblad is. He's coming back? Is he hurt? They think of everything in the big picture. The Heat do this also. And so sometimes you don't panic and then you wait for the right move. I know that the Panthers have been more aggressive than the Heat lately. But again, there's form to what they're doing. I don't know what the hell the Dolphins have been doing the last few years at all. Never will. No, and I even now, it looks like they're just going to keep the guy that they got there because they're firing others who have been there for a long time, which again is fine. But could you just bring in somebody from the outside who's just going to take a look at this thing again holistically and say, okay, this is what needs to change. We're stuck with a Tua contract or whatever, and make that happen. Anyway, Alex, appreciate it. Use the code 5 FIVE. Put down your $5. Of course, the Canes have conference play going on here as well, so follow his work on Locked On Canes, as well as our guys over at Six Rings Canes. Still following them. Inter Miami is in the conference finals right now, so check out Messi and company for that and more. And we'll have Panthers coverage, and of course, we're still covering the Dolphins for what it's worth, and the Heat, of course, because that's what you all are here for. Anyway, have a good one.
See ya.